Okay, so before we get started with the text of the Imrei Yaakov, we're going to look at some of the Biurim today. I would like to go into a Gemara, another Gemara with you that we haven't seen yet, having to do with providing for one's daughters in one's lifetime, where we had said that there's a certain ambiguity in halacha. If a person is allowed to divest or to deplete his estate even during his lifetime. And so if you take a look at the following piece of Gemara, which I'm going to share with you, let me just bring it up on my screen. There we go. This is a Gemara from Maseches Ksuvas, Daf Nun, starts on Daf Nun Beis Amid Beis. And the Gemara states as follows. Rav Papa Iasek le Librei be Abba Surah. That Rav Papa had a son to marry off, and he was making a shidduch with a man named the Abba Surah, whose daughter was going to marry Rav Papa's son. So Azal Michtav la Ksuvasa. So Rav Papa went to Abba Surah's house, where he was going to arrange with him to write the ketubah and make sure that everything was going to be okay in preparation for the wedding. Shama Yehuda bar Meremar, Nafak Asa Ischazile. Yehuda bar Meremar lived in the same neighborhood as Abba Surah, and so when he heard that his rabbinic colleague and friend, Rav Papa, was coming to Abba Surah's house, Yehuda bar Meremar went out to greet him, I guess somewhere in the village street. Kimatu lepischa hava kamifter minei. And as they came to Abba Surah's front door, Yehuda bar Meremar basically said, it's been nice seeing you. Let me bid you farewell. So Amar lei, neolmar bahadai. So Rav Papa said, no, Yehuda bar Meremar, come inside. I want you to meet my future mechutin. Okay, that's basically what Rav Papa says. And Rav Papa noticed that Yehuda bar Meremar, who was the Rav of the community where Abba Surah lived, was very reluctant and didn't want to come in with him to say hello to Abba Surah. So Amar lei, my daitach. So Rav Papa caught on. And what he caught on is that the reason why Yehuda bar Meremar was reluctant to come in was because he felt that the Yehuda bar Meremar, as the rabbi of the community, realized that Abba Surah would feel compelled to write, if he saw the Rav of his city is such good friends with his future mechutin, would feel compelled to provide more in the dowry, because the practice was that in the ketubah, the son's family would write how much they are providing, and the daughter's family, the Kala's family, would also write what they are including in the dowry for the bride and the groom to have in the marriage, and what the daughter would be bringing into the marriage with her. So Rav Papa realized that Yehuda bar Meremar was concerned that his presence would make the father of the bride feel compelled to put more in the ketubah, to increase the dowry, if you understand. So Rav Papa says, what are you worried about? Mishum da'amar le Shmuel Rav Yehuda shinana lo tihavi ba'avuri achsanta afilu mibra bisha libra tava. He said, why are you reluctant to come inside, Yehuda bar Meremar? Is it because you are following the edict of Shmuel, who taught to Rav Yehuda that if you wish to be a sharp person, you should not pass your estate over even from a bad son to a good son? Delo yadia maizara nafik minei, because you never know what children the bad son will end up having. The kol shekain mibra lebrata, and certainly you should not pass the inheritance from a son to a daughter. And are you therefore concerned that when Abba Surah sees you, the father of the bride is going to see you, and he's going to feel compelled to write an exorbitant sum into the ketubah, which will deplete his estate? and you feel that that's wrong. So Hainami takanta de Rabbanan the Amar Reb Yochanan Mishum Reb Shimon ben Yochai. So Rav Papa said, but there is a counter takana. In other words, yes, it is a takanas chachamim that a person during his lifetime should not deplete his estate and leave his rightful heirs with nothing. But there's also another counter rabbinic decree, which is that which Reb Shimon Bar Yochai said, that a person should leave a large dowry for his daughter, should provide a large dowry for his daughter, so that she will be able to find a nice shidduch. In other words, there are two competing rabbinic decrees. One is make sure you have ample funds in your estate before you die so that your children will not be left with nothing when you die. But there's a competing and conflicting rabbinic objective, which is make sure you give your daughter a large dowry so that she will have a lot of young men who will be her suitors. And so therefore, what you're doing is not incorrect, Yehuda Bar Meremar, because when my future mechutin sees you, he will want to put a large dowry into the ketubah to make her a desirable commodity, as it were, right? And there's nothing wrong with that, even if he ends up taking money away from the future inheritors, because he's fulfilling a different rabbinic law. So there's nothing wrong with it. So Amar Lei, Hani Mili Midaite, La Asuye Nami. So Yehuda Bar Meremer's response was, but that's only true if a person does it of his own free accord to give a large dowry for his daughter. But to coerce a person to give a large dowry for his daughter, that the rabbis never had in mind. So Amar Lei Atu Mika Amina Lach Da'ol Va'asye, Ol Velo Ta'asye Ka'amina. So Rav Papa said, who said anything about you coercing my mechutin? I'm just saying to come in with me. You don't have to put any pressure on him to increase the dowry. I'm not asking you to do that. I'm just asking you to come in and say hello. Amar Lei Ma'aloi Didi Hainu Asiya. And Yehuda Bar Meremar said, my very presence coming into his house is a form of coercion. It's going to put pressure on him. But nonetheless, ach piyeva'ol. But Rav Papa pressured Yehuda Bar Meremar, listen, don't worry about it. It's going to be fine. Come in with me. Don't worry. Ishtik v'yasiv. So he came inside, finally. He relented, came inside, but he didn't want to say a word because he didn't want the mechutin, the father of the bride, to feel any pressure at all. So he went and he said, hello, I'm just here to watch. And he went and sat in the corner, and he was as quiet as a mouse. So Savar Hahu Mirtach Ratach. But it backfired, because Abba Surah, the father of the bride, thought that the reason why Yehuda Bar Meremar was so quiet was because he was upset with him. You know, like the great rabbi of the community comes into my house and doesn't say anything to me. It must mean that he's angry for some reason that Rav Papa is making a shidduch with my daughter, and so therefore he felt a tremendous amount of intimidation, and as a result, kasve l'chol mai dahavale, he put the value of his entire estate into the ketubah as a result. So l'sof amar lei hashtanami lo mishto imar. So then, after they finalized the ketubah, the father of the bride, whose house they're in now, turns to Yehuda Bar Meremar, who's still quiet as a mouse and is not saying anything. He says, Rebbe, how come you're still not speaking to me? I mean, after all, look what I did. I put so much of my estate into the dowry. Chaye demar lo shviki midi lenafshoy. He says, I swear to you, I haven't left anything even for myself to live off of, based on what I've just written in the dowry. So Amar lei imi noi didi afilo hainami de kasaft lo nichali. So Yehuda Bar Meremar finally opens his mouth and he says, if you had asked me for my advice before you did this deal, I would have told you that even the initial amount that you wanted to put in was not to my satisfaction, because you shouldn't deplete your estate. Amar lei hashtanami ahaderbi. So Abba Surah hears Yehuda Bar Meremar and he says, I had no idea you felt this way. Let me let me withdraw the deal. So Amrlei, Shavya Nafshach Hadrana Loka Amina. So Yehuda Bar Merimer says, no, I'm not going to make you into a reneger on a deal. If you've already committed yourself to this deal, then you've got to hold your word. But if you had asked me in advance, I would have told you, don't do anything to deplete your estate. All right, that's the end of the Gemara. Now, the purpose or the exercise from this Gemara is to demonstrate that even making large it sounds like from the Gemara, that even making large expenditures from your estate to the point where your children will not be able to inherit a sizable estate, so there seems to be something wrong with it if you're giving it to someone who's not a rightful heir, such as a daughter. And, of course, at some point we should be disturbed by all of this, because at the end of the day, whose money is it? It doesn't belong to my children. It's my money. I worked hard my entire life to build up a nest egg. And if I have savings and I've put away money, why can't I use it for the things that I want to use it for? Why do I have to sort of put a hold on all of my plans, even at the expense of a person, my daughter, who I love, and I want to be able to make sure that she's well taken care of? It sounds like from the Gemara that even that is problematic. And that's why Yehuda Bar Merimer was so unhappy with the prospect of this fellow writing a large dowry for his daughter. So that's something that we have to sort of reconcile and realize what the balance is. And so that's why I wanted us to see the Biurim at this point, where the Rav Shulchan Aruch sort of anticipated that. Let's just bring that up. So I wanted just to take a look at this little piece over here. Aval imeniach gam leyorshim. The Rav Shulchan Aruch had said that if you leave an ample amount for the heirs, then you do have a right to gift of your estate to other people, such as a daughter or a friend, a relative, a charity, and so forth. So, Biur Divrei Harav Khan, Nira Behekdem Hashas Bava Basra Kuf Lamed Gimel Amud Beis. That first we have to go through a few Gemaras and put them all together in order to understand the Rav Shulchan Aruch over here. Our first stop is going to be Bava Basra, page Kuf Lamed Gimel Amud Beis. Ditnan Hakosev es Nechasav La'acherim V'Hiniach es Banav Ein Ruach Chachamim Noicha Himenu. We had seen this Gemara earlier, that if a person depletes his estate and before he dies and gives away all of his assets, leaving his children without any inheritance, the spirit of the sages is unhappy with him. That was the Mishnah. Well, the Gemara, Amar le Shmuel Rav Yehuda, Shinana lo tihavi be'avuri achsanta, va'afilu mibrabisha lebratava. That we see this famous quote that Rav Yehuda, that Shmuel said to his student Rav Yehuda, a sharp one, never allow yourself to be one of those kinds of people that takes away the rightful inheritance from his children, even if you wish to only reapportion your estate to give from take away from the bad child and give to a good child. Umuchach sham besugya de'ein nafkamina beinim hu ma'avir ha'yerusha la'anoshim acherim, o im hu makdishan l'shamayim, debechol gavna ein ruach hachamim noicha himenu. What's clear from the Gemara over there is that even if a person wishes to deplete his estate by giving it all to hektish, to charity, it's still, the rabbis are unhappy with him. Ayin sham ba'uvda di Yossi ben Yoezer. And that's the story of Yossi ben Yoezer that we saw inside in the Gemara, where he wasn't happy with his son's life choices. And so he declared he gave all of his money to Yonatan ben Uziel, the great sage, and Yonatan ben Uziel ended up giving a third of the estate back to the son. Od muchach b'ksubas dafnun gimel amud beis ba'uvda de Rav Papa da afilu ein mavir kol hanechasim rak mafmiya mikzasim nami yesh lehimana. And that story of Rav Papa that we just saw, it seems to imply that even if you're only taking a portion of your estate to invest in your daughter's dowry, it's also problematic. And the Rashbam, in his commentary to Baba Batra, seems to say something similar. He says, even if you are not fully depleting the estate, but just giving more to one child than to another child, this becomes problematic. And this is actually the language that the Rav Shulchan Aruch brings at the end of this halacha. Ulam yesh lahakshos al zeh mehadim atzinu b'ksubas daf samach zayin amid beis. But we have to raise a contradiction. Now we have another Gemara, and we didn't see this Gemara inside, but he's citing the Gemara in its entirety over here. He says, "Demar ukva ki kanicha nafshe, kam v'chilek chatzi mimamone." That Mar Ukva, before he died, he realized that he was imminently going to pass away, and he went and he divided his estate in half, and half of it he gave to charity. So uparach b'gemara hechi avid hachi, b'ha'amar Ravi Loi b'ushe skino hamevazvez al yevazvez yoser mechomesh. And so the Gemara asks the question, how could Mar Ukva do such a thing? Don't we know that when it comes to charity, you're only allowed to give away up to a fifth of your assets to charity? But here was Mar Ukva, and he was giving away half of his estate to charity. Umeshani hani mili mechayim shema yered minachasav, avola achar misa les lanba adkan. And the Gemara gives a very interesting answer. The Gemara says the reason why you're not allowed to give more than a fifth away of your assets to charity is because we're worried about your financial well-being. If you let's say a person makes it really rich and he hits the jackpot and he gets a huge return on an investment, and he's feeling so grateful to the Ribono Shel Olam and so benevolent in spirit that he takes 80% of that return and he gives it to charity. And then all of a sudden, the bottom of the market falls out, or his investment fails, and now he's left with nothing. So that's the reason why the rabbis were concerned that you shouldn't give away more than a fifth of your assets, of your estate to tzedakah, because we want to make sure that you'll be left with something. So we say put a limit on it. Even when you feel everything is great and you're riding high, make sure you don't give away too much to tzedakah because you have to leave something for yourself. But if you're about to pass away, you can give as much as you want to charity before you die, because then there's no concern that you're going to be left destitute because you'll be gone, right? So that's how the Gemara reconciles the contradiction between Mar Ukva's action of taking away half of his estate and the halacha that you're not supposed to give away more than a fifth. V'hu nifsak ladina bi'ordei simin reish mem tes if aleph berama. And this is codified in the Shulchan Aruch in the laws of tzedakah, where it says in Yoredeya, never give away more than a fifth of your assets to charity, because you never know what tomorrow's going to bring, and you don't want to yourself become destitute as a result of your charitable giving. But then the Ramah says, but that's only during your lifetime when you're healthy. But if you're on your deathbed and you know you're about to die, then you can give away as much of your estate as you want. So Hare Mavur, the Afal Pishu Mafkia Mahayorshim Eschelkam, Mikol Makom Litzarch Tzedaka Shari Im Zenitein La'achar Moso. He says what you see from that halacha is that you can give away as much of your estate as you want, even though you're taking away those assets from your future heirs, right? So this seems to be a contradiction. It seems to be a contradiction. In the previous Gemara, there was a problem with giving too much of a dowry to your daughter because you're depleting your estate. And over here, you're allowed, it's in the Hilchos Tzedakah, you can deplete your estate all you want because it's your money. Do with it as you wish. So the question is, how do you reconcile this contradiction? And so, Ulam Lefi Divrei Harav Kan, yesh lechalek beinim hu meniach liyorshim davar hamaspik lahem, da'az shari lahakdish litzdaka, leveinim einu meniach lahem kedei tzarcham, da'az aser gam litzdaka. So he says the reconciliation of these two Gemaras is based on what the Rav Shulchan Aruch wrote over here. He says you have to assess how much will be left in your estate, if by making these gifts to charity or to anyone else, let's say, or your daughter for that matter, will your rightful heirs be left with something that will be befitting them to provide for them after you die? Vahainu, the Maisa de Mar Ukva Shechilek Chatzi Nachasav Mari Shahaya Asher Gadol Kinamuchach Sham Beksuvas. He says, and that's exactly the discussion over there, where Mar Ukva was a very wealthy man. So he knew that even if he would divide his estate in half and give half of it to charity, there would still be plenty left for his children, for his sons, his heirs. And therefore, what he was leaving for his children was enough to provide for them. I think I once heard that Bill Gates said that in his will, he's leaving like 99% of his estate to charities and foundations, and only 1% to his children, because he doesn't want them to be independently wealthy to the point where they feel they don't have to do anything with their lives. But he wants to leave them just enough. I guess 1% of a gazillion is enough that you can live throughout the rest of your life comfortably. But he didn't want them to be as wealthy as he is. He just wanted them to have enough that they would be able to live off of. But by contrast, as is illustrated by the story in Ksubis, you're not allowed to even make them hektish, your assets before you die. If by doing so you're going to be leaving your children bereft. Va'ayin birkei Yosef Yoredeas Imrei Shemem Tesif Kat and Tesvav, and see this tshuva sefer. Demasik dechol echad lefi ashro yase eze izvanotu kronot litzdaka ulahekdesh lemenuchas nafsho. That it's brought down that not only is this permitted, but actually, if a person has a sizable estate before he dies, he should make sure that in his will documents, he leaves over a certain percentage of his estate for tzedakah. Why? Lemenuchas nafsho, to provide rest for his soul. In other words, it's considered to be virtuous and an elevation for your neshama that when you die, you leave a certain percentage of your estate for tzedakah. That's assuming that by doing so, you're not completely exhausting your estate so that your children are left with something that is insufficient for them. Uva asher gadol yachol lahaniach minachasav ad palga ayin sham, and as illustrated by the story of Mar Ukva, you can even leave up to a half of your estate if you're wealthy for charities, and leave only a half of your estate for your children. V'chein bebach yoredeis Imrei Shemem tes kasav d'chol echad yasa lefi ashro ulefi ma'amad yorshav ayin sham. And the Bach writes the same thing, that each person should do according to his wealth and according to the standing of his heirs. V'hu ke'ein shitas harav kan, and that sounds like what the Rav Shulchan Aruch is saying over here as well. And so basically, I just wanted to point this out to you, that there's actually a mitzvah to leave a certain percentage of your estate to charities, which is why this is not a plug, but every charitable organization encourages people, whether it's a school or a shul or any other kind of charitable organization. The advocacy is, in order for us to build a sizable trust so that our shul or our school remains financially viable, we look upon our members or our donors to be able to leave a certain percentage of their assets to us after they leave the world, so that, and this is how religious institutions and charitable institutions are able to gain equity and to become financially stable. So this is something that is actually advocated by the poskim, not just a nice thing to do, but it actually, as we say, it leaves menucha for your soul. It provides a sort of a respite for your soul that Hashem will reward a person even in the afterlife for that kind of gift.
I know the rabbi has to leave on time today, but I just quick question, and it doesn't have to be dealt with today. But the difference between leaving funds on their own accord in their will, or having their children give from what they inherit in their merit. Is there a difference in the power of each of those? Not that you can guarantee that your children will give, but I'm just saying that.
Right. Well, we know that we saw in the previous halacha that there's a din of mitzvah l'kayim divrei hameis. If you give your children charge that with my estate I'd like you to do such and such with the money, we saw that there's a machlokes because some poskim argue that the children can say, if I fulfill my father's wishes, then it's going to leave me with insufficient funds for me. So they are. I would tell you that you have to assess the situation of your children. If your children have independent wealth and they're not reliant upon the inheritance to get them by, then there's nothing wrong with asking them to execute your wishes with your estate. But it's not worthwhile to create a conflict for your children by asking them to give away money for tzedakah that will cause them to have some level of resentment as a result, because they're if they're going to resent that and say, why did my father tell me to take this chunk of the estate and give it to tzedakah? Didn't he realize how much I could benefit and how much my children could benefit from it? So you have to use your own chachma. Now, if heirs are enormously wealthy, Warren asks, can more than 50% be given to tzedakah? So the language of that posek of what we saw down here below, the Birkei Yosef says you can give up to 50%. But it sounds like that it sounds like to me that you could even give more than 50% if a person is really mega wealthy, like that Bill Gates illustration. Because what?
Warren Buffett.
Or Warren Buffett, who probably has the same philosophy with his children. Wealth can be a tremendous liability because, if your children know that they don't have to work and that they can rely on Papa's gelt, then it can actually create a very, very bad work ethic and culture within your children. And we've seen children who have used the wealth of their families to really unfortunately have destructive personalities. And that's certainly not something that you would like to think about, that is my leaving to my children all of this wealth, is it actually going to be destructive for them or their children? And so a person may actually wish to appoint an executor for the estate or custodian upon the estate to monitor how the money is being used. All of these things are part of a person's prerogatives when he wants to think about how he's going to leave his estate to his family. And with this, I'm going to have to hold it for today. I still want to discuss with you the issue of how to leave over for your wife, because we haven't discussed that yet. And we'll talk in Mitzvah Shem tomorrow. Take care.